Welcome in to another Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined as always by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
We're doing good. I think it's going to get interesting tonight here.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be fun. As you are noticing, if you're watching on YouTube, first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Or even if you're watching on Twitter and or Facebook, make sure to like as well. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple later on, make sure to give us a 5-star rating and tell us what you think about the episode. So what we are doing today, you may notice a tier list on the screen right now. And basically what we are going to do is we are going to tier list rank all of the Minnesota Timberwolves players based on performance, not only – I accidentally went to our video and I was talking inside my own ear. But what we are going to rank based on, and here are the parameters, based on not only the regular season, but also the postseason. So we're talking overall performance, and honestly – just because of importance, I would probably rank the postseason as probably a little more important, but we can get up to a discussion as well. So let's get it going. So let's start right here with Mike Conley. So let's go over a couple stats for Mike Conley. Let me go down here in my list. Mike Conley, of course, teammate of the year, shot 44% from three, third in the NBA. So it's actually 22nd in defensive win shares and was 39% from three in the playoffs. So your overall thoughts on Mike Conley this year, and where would you put him on this tier list?
If I'm going to base mine off of kind of like expectations that we kind of had for those players. Like Mike Conley obviously isn't going to be, no matter how well he does, he's not going to be in the Anthony Edwards range. But like for who he is, I would say he was a B. I think that shot percentage is great. Like when he was doing something, it was usually good. But in the playoffs, to be honest, he disappeared quite a bit. And for a guy that was supposed to be like our veteran leader and like follow me type thing, there was a lot of no-shows from him when it kind of mattered. So I would say a B. Like he did well. I thought he shot well. Probably about a little bit better than expected, but right about where I expected him.
Yeah, I mean, if it was 2013 Conley, I would say maybe a C or a D, but obviously that's not what we're talking about right now. It was interesting to find he was actually 22nd in defensive win shares, and actually 8 Timberwolves were in the top 50 in that, which is actually pretty impressive. But yeah, I mean, he had some big games, but there were definitely games where he would shoot poorly, and it seems like he would just fade into the background a lot of times. He wasn't the aggressive Mike Conley that he has been in the past. His defense, I would say, probably solid. Average. Average to solid, not bad. But, I mean, a career high 44% from three. Now, obviously, he's not putting them up like Curry, but still pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean, he shot 5 a game, made 2.5. I mean, he did solid. I like him.
Yep. I'll go B as well. Yep, we'll put Mike Conley in the B range. So let's go next. And this one, some of them we can do pretty quick, obviously. But the guy out of Iowa, Luka Garza. Your thoughts on Luka Garza this year, if there's really anything to say?
I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, he tried hard. I mean, he was in there in junk time. Fan favorite. I mean, I don't know where to rank a guy like that because he really didn't matter.
Right.
I mean, maybe a B, like right about what I expected, maybe a little better because I'm always expecting a guy like that to kind of show that he stinks, like show that everybody's been right throughout the years and he's really not that good. And he didn't. I think he added a little more consistent on his 3-point shot. And I mean, he brought the crowd's energy up. So yeah, I would say a B.
I think he gets a B here just because for the moment in the game 6 of the playoffs against the Denver Nuggets, where he made a three as the chicken dance was playing. I think that was a great one. If this was the G League rankings, it's an AS, absolutely S plus, but it's not. So yeah, let's go B. I mean, like you said, we got to rank it versus expectations. Also, I do remember one game. It was a game against coincidentally Denver earlier this year, where he came in and played pretty good defense against Joker in minutes because I think Rudy was out and Nas was out. So yeah, we'll give him a B. What the heck? So if you're listening on the podcast, we have Mike Conley at B. We have Luka Garza at B. Let's go to Jordan McLaughlin, who honestly, I think he gets torn down a little bit because he did not get much playoff exposure. And when he did play in the playoffs, he really wasn't that good, to be completely honest with you. But what do you think about Jordan McLaughlin?
God.
I know. Yeah.
Maybe a C. Like, I kind of wanted a little bit more from him to like really solidify himself as like a decent backup point guard that, you know, it was like kind of his last hope as an NBA player this year, I believe. And he didn't really do it. I mean, he was okay, but, you know, I'd say he's in the B or C range, just kind of what I expected, but he really didn't do much.
Yeah, and he's kind of the ninth man out. He was kind of a change of pace point guard. I'm looking at some of his stats from the season, and he had a couple good games. Like he had 12 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers, went 4 for 4 from the field, 4 for 4 from three. I remember that game. I mean, he had some good minutes, kind of a change of pace point guard. Yeah. By the way, in the chat, let us know where you think these guys rank as well. We'd love to know your opinion. Yeah, kind of a change of pace point guard. I wouldn't put him in D because I don't know. I wasn't really expecting much out of Jordan McLaughlin, to be completely honest.
And I don't think he was ever bad. He was just fine.
Also, when we say playoff struggles, it's tough to come in the playoffs and straight off the bench when nothing else is working. I think it was in that Mavs series, and come in and hit threes. Like it's tough to do that. Really, only a guy we'll talk about later can do that. But yeah, so we're saying C for Jordan McLaughlin.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. C. So Mike Conley, Luka Garza, B for your listeners. C, we have Jordan McLaughlin. And let's get to the big one. And I think we'll spend a lot of time on this, although it's relatively obvious. Anthony Edwards had 29 games of 30 points or more, 9 triple-doubles, second all-time in points scored in a season in Timberwolves history, and he would have been first if it wasn't for a couple games that he missed, because the all-time leader is Kevin Garnett, and he played all 82 games. All-NBA second team, a 109.5 defensive rating, fourth best defensive win share, and had a 51-point game, 25 points per game, and in the playoffs, even better, 27 points per game. I mean, he's an S, right?
Yeah, he's an S. And not even that stuff. It's just the way that his game has evolved. Like, scoring is what he's going to do, but he did evolve this year as more of a play creator, more of a passer, more of a, you know, getting other people involved, learning how to get off the double team quicker. Like he did some things that I think, you know, show that his progression is happening. And that's all I look for these young guys is show me that you're getting better. Show me that your game is developing and you're adding things each year. And he did that. And I mean, it's scary to think what he's going to be if he keeps adding more and more. So yes.
Now, the only way that I would see him getting an A would be there were a couple games this season where he was kind of non-existent and he turned into a pass first player. It was almost like he was proving a point. I don't know what point he was proving, but there were a couple games where he faded from existence, and he did have a tough go of it towards the end of the playoff run. But I mean, this was one of the
almost every game all year. I mean, you're going to have some tired games or some days where you're not locked in. So yeah, I mean, I bet you can look at Luka Doncic and find the same type of thing.
That's true. That's true. Yep, we're going S with Anthony Edwards. Here we go, a controversial one, and I know you're dying to talk about it, so let's talk about it. Jaden
You know me too well.
Yeah, Jaden McDaniels. Let me get into some of the stats first. Shot 54% from three versus Dallas, 50% from the field over the playoffs. What's interesting is he almost rose his game.
He shot what percent versus Dallas from three?
54%.
From three from Dallas?
I'm pretty sure. I'll look again.
He should have shot more then.
Yeah, he should have shot more. Absolutely. Where's my sheet here? Here we go. Shot 54% from three versus Dallas. What's interesting, he had 4 20-point games throughout the season. He had 4 games in the playoffs of 20 points or more. I think he had 3 of the row. In fact, there were some times that he would fade away a little bit and kind of go into the background. His defense actually, rating-wise, wasn't as good as some of the other players. Of course, he did make all defense second team, but 111.5 defensive rating, which is good, but not great. Where would you put Jaden McDaniels?
I'm going to give you some other stats about Jaden McDaniels than you gave me.
Go ahead.
So his job is to be a defensive stopper, correct?
Yep.
So I'm going to give you some regular season stats for Jaden McDaniels versus the top scorers that we went up against. Versus Luka, who averaged 34 points a game. Luka averaged 37 versus us. SGA, who averaged 30 points a game in the regular season, he averaged 34 versus us. De'Aaron Fox, who averaged 26.6 in the regular season, averaged 31.5 versus us. Tatum, 27 in the regular season, averaged 38.5 versus us. You know, the only people that he really slowed down was Durant and Booker, who he kept under their average by about 5 points a game. So if your job is to be a defensive stopper, why are all the best guys scoring more versus us? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you could tell me about this, how great you get through screens or all this stuff, but I care about what really happens on the scoreboard. And when the best guys that you're matching up against are scoring more versus us than they do against all other teams, that shows that you're failing. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, if you're going to give me 10 points a game and 3 rebounds, that's all you're giving me, that's a D for me, dog.
Like, really?
He's a D. We can say we love him. We can say he's this nice guy. He's whatever, but like, it's time to step up and be our number 3 guy. And he hasn't done it. You know, Conley isn't going to be that guy. You know, Rudy Gobert isn't our number 3 scorer. So if you're stuck with Cat and Edwards and they slow them down, all you're giving us is 10 points a game and 3 rebounds. Okay. That's pathetic. For me, that's a D.
Okay. I am going to talk you off the ledge a little bit. Just because of some of his shooting in the playoffs. He did have some big games in the playoffs where he scored 20, 25 points. I'm going to put him at a C, kind of a J-Mac level, because I expected more out of him, but maybe my ceiling isn't as high for him as well. I kind of see him as kind of a mid-level player, kind of like I kind of see him in the same vein as like a DeAndre Hunter. Are you okay with going C, or are you adamant with D?
I mean, just to probably keep some of the fans off my neck, we can go C, but okay. I mean, he was terrible this year. I mean, he definitely didn't improve. Like, if you look at his stats, he hasn't improved since his rookie year, really, at all. I mean, and he went down. I think he shot 33% from 3 this year in the regular season. I think last year he was at 38. Yeah. I mean, he shot worse this year. Like, it's not a good look.
No, it's not. And I understand why. I just think he's better than a D. D is someone who didn't perform at all, in my opinion. And I think there were some games that he performed. And now let's get through some of these pretty quick. Leonard Miller, I mean, what do we say? Incomplete. Should we just put him at a...
Well, let me say something about Leonard Miller. So he actually played really well in the G League. Put up some really good numbers. like kind of a double guy. And there was times when he was really leading our team. Rumor has it he's also one of the worst defenders in the G League,
That's
which,
not good.
yeah, not good. But I mean, a lot of that's effort. So I think I'm going to rank him on what my excitement and expectations for him going forward as what I've seen. So I think I can put him almost at the same place as we got Luka Garza, where it's about a B.
Okay.
He hasn't done anything to make me feel like his stock is going down, but it's like a wait and see.
Right. And I think it's a little different than grading, which we won a little bit, Wendell Moore Jr., where he maybe had the same stats technically in the NBA, but Wendell Moore Jr. is definitely on a worse trajectory than
Right.
Leonard Miller right now.
Yep.
So I accidentally put him in twice, but let's talk about it. Monte Morris, only here half the season. I'm
D.
close to a D on Monte Morris, but go ahead, talk a little bit.
No, D it is. I'm disappointed. We went, and that was our kind of big shot to add something that could give us something. Like we needed something else off the bench, because our guard play is pretty bad outside of Anthony Edwards. It's just, I guess I wouldn't say bad. It's just not. We needed somebody that could give us, I don't know, some action, and he didn't do it. I was disappointed. So
I
yeah, I'm
was
gonna
too.
go D.
I'm going to go D as well because, like you said, he was supposed to be the missing piece, right? He was our draft day acquisition after someone that we'll talk about in a little bit didn't work out, and someone else didn't work out as well. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think it would have been bad to keep Troy Brown Jr. I feel like he could have given you he could have given you the same. Now, like I said, this is just about this year. This isn't about next year, but
Yeah.
It was a disappointing performance out of Monte Morris, and he didn't elevate anything. He looked lost the entire year, couldn't find his step. Now, obviously, he was coming off of an injury, but I'm not here to say the Pistons fleeced us because they got Troy Brown Jr., so
Yeah, it's fine.
He's not a long core piece in their puzzle anyway, but yeah, I agree. Let's go D. All right, I know you love talking about this guy as well. Kyle Anderson. And let's get just a few stats before you rip into his game. Let me find the Kyle Anderson part. All I have is he was 29th in defensive win shares. Obviously, people like him because he seems like he steadied the offense. He has the slowest three-pointer in the entire league for the season. Which he refused to shoot. 6.4 points per game. Had that one nice game in the playoffs, which people say, oh, what a nice game from Kyle. But really, he only had 10 points. Now, granted, he shot 5 for 5, but he really only had 10 points in that game. Where would you put Kyle Anderson?
And about that, Kyle had a great game and he had 10 points. It's kind of the same thing about when Jaden scores 20 points and people think that he just dropped, a double nickel. Like 20 points isn't that impressive, same as that 10 points. But when you don't expect it, it's kind of exciting. I would say McDaniels is a C.
Kyle?
Oh, yeah, Kyle. Yeah, I think he's a C. He did about what I expected. His 3-point shooting took a big drop from last year, which I'd expected to, because, and we mentioned on this podcast, is that was such a surprise last year that his 3-pointer was actually going in. And it was such a, he hadn't done that ever in his career. So I kind of looked at it, a little bit suspectly. But I'd say, a B or a C, right about what I planned. I think he does some things on the court intelligence-wise, which helps stem some of our stupidity that happens with our players. I don't know. I heard someone recently talking about AAU ball and how that kind of kills player IQ. He helps fix that a little bit. But in the same sense, he's just a guy. Like, I'm fine with him not being on the roster, and he's fine at a C for me.
I'm at a C as well. Like you were mentioning some of his stats, he did go down this year. 9.4 points per game last year, and this year 6.4 points per game. Like you said, 3-point shooting, which we don't rely on him that much anyway. When we say he shot 41% from 3, he was only making like 1 a game. So it's really not all that impressive.
But now he went from that to shooting 22% and making 0.1 a game.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, being afraid completely when he gets the ball, completely stifling our offense.
Yep.
Like
kills the flow.
Yeah, kills the flow. We had the ball moving, and then there's Kyle. There's Kyle in the corner thinking about shooting and then not shooting. For some reason, I had Monte Morris on here twice, so we'll skip him. And let's go to Nickeil Alexander Walker. Now, a couple stats on him. Actually, 28th in defensive win shares. I believe his defensive rating is actually better than Jaden McDaniels. Shot 39% from 3 this season, but struggled in the Dallas series, only scoring 3.4 points per game, although was big in the Phoenix series. So, your thoughts on Nickeil?
I'm going to give him an A or a B, to be honest.
Wow.
Because, other than the end of the year last year when like literally in the playoffs versus Denver, nobody really expected much from him except for like he kind of blew up there. And it was kind of like, well, let's hope that this is a real player. Like we didn't really know what we had. And this whole season long, he was really our only bench guard that did anything. I mean, at all. Our bench wing that did anything. So, I mean, other than Nas, he's the only guy off the bench that gave us anything consistently. And for a guy that's our 7th guy, I think he was, being one of our best defenders and a quality 3-point shooter. I'll at least give him a B, maybe a B plus if it's possible. But I don't know. What's your take? You might be able to split me between B or A.
Yeah, I think he goes to B for me just because of his struggles in the Dallas series, which was, an opportunity for a squad to go to the NBA Finals, and you struggle that much. That is why it puts me down to a B. But like you said, yeah, he was consistent all year. He was a bucket all year coming off the bench. He shot for the season 43% from the field and total from behind the 3-point arc. I think he was actually pretty good, and he was one of the only
39% from 3 in the regular season.
Yeah, 39, 40, which is actually close to a career high. He shot 40% on much lower usage. Actually, with the Timberwolves, another thing, his longevity. He played every single game this season. He didn't miss a single game. So I'll put him at a B. The only reason, like I said, that I'm not putting him at an A is just because of struggles in the Suns, or no, not the Suns, the Dallas series. That's the only reason I'm not putting him at an A, because I think A is exceptional. But hey, if we get a B type player in a throw-in, a throw-in in a trade, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Huge.
And also, as you notice, I'm putting Nickeil at the beginning of the B's.
Yeah, so, high
B. Yep, almost a B plus. So if you're listening at home, where we're at so far, Anthony Edwards an S, Nickeil, Conley, Luka, and Leonard a B, McLaughlin. Shoot, I'm losing his name. Jaden, yeah. Wow, I'm going to edit that out. Jaden, Kyle, a C, and then Monte Morris, a D. So let's just get this out of the way. Daishawn Nix, incomplete. Just put him in C.
I liked the guy. Like, just his energy off the bench seemed to keep the team vibing. So, I'll bump him up as high as you want. Like, because it's all based on expectation. I'd put him at a C, but yeah, he was fun. Like, he seemed to be somebody who really kind of kept the energy going on the bench, which is kind of important.
Yeah, and I actually noticed he started the point, for good or bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
So yeah, we at least let's put him with Miller and No, let's put him at a B. Why not? Why
Yeah,
not?
for his role as literally a bench guy, he was one of the best bench guys in the league, I think.
Man, people are going to get pissed that we put Leonard Miller and Deshaun Nix ahead of Jaden McDaniels, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. That's how it goes. So Monte Morris still in the way. I'm going to put him at the end. Let's talk about the two guys, and we'll start with Shake Milton. And I got Shake Milton at a D. What a disappointment.
Yeah, D. It's a D. And it's not even close. He seemed to step slow all year. And I tell you what, I bet you he regrets the offseason. Like, I don't think he came into the team ready to play. Maybe he was disappointed going from Philly to Minnesota, thinking that was a step down, and he didn't really have his head around it. I bet you if he could look at how the season ended, he wished that he, came in more prepared, but he was terrible. So
He
yeah,
was.
a D is what he gets.
And why another reason I give him a D is because he was supposed to be the upgrade to Jalen Noel, and he totally wasn't.
Yep.
He totally was. He was not the upgrade that we thought to Jalen Noel, and it showed. And something I'm noticing here, two guys in D were two guys that we got in the offseason and then right at the trade deadline. So I don't think we did a lot to bolster this team in the offseason and at the trade dedeadline as well.
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
I would say he was a downgrade from Jalen Noel. And if you've been on this podcast for a long time, I was pretty harsh on Jalen Noel. But his style of play was probably exactly what we needed on this team and didn't have all season. Was a guy who came in just hungry for shots and, looking to score. That's something that we're going to need to get on our roster going forward.
And then the other guy that we got rid of at the trade deadline, Troy Brown Jr., had some decent games this year. I thought he was decent. He was a nice.
He won us a game. I know that.
Which game was that? I'm trying to remember. Do you
remember?
There
was a game when Anthony Edwards went out hurt or something like that. I think it might have been Denver again. And he went off for like 12 points in the fourth quarter or something crazy.
Yes.
And won us a game. I mean, he's probably a high D, low C, maybe, just because we ended up getting rid of him.
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats from earlier this year. I mean, he had some decent games. That's the preseason. I mean, he had. Was it the OKC game? He had 17.
Yes.
He had 17 points, went 5 for 6 from the field against Memphis. He had some good games against Memphis. He went 8 for 10, 4 for 6 from 3. Yeah, let's give him a C. Why not? Because he wasn't bad. I mean, he had 11 points. I mean, these are against some big opponents. He had 11 points against Indiana, eventual Eastern Conference Finals participants. Yep. I mean, he wasn't bad. I said, I would have rather had him than Monte Morris at the end.
For sure.
Yeah. What do you think? C?
C for sure. Maybe a high C even.
Yeah, I'll put him at the beginning of the C's. I got him over J-Mac. Now, nice. Yeah, I'll put him right there in front of. Okay, now let's get to it. The defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert. I'll have some stats in a minute, but your thoughts on Rudy?
Yeah, he's going to be probably a B or an A.
I got A, but keep going.
Yeah, he's about what we expect. What I expect from Rudy is high-level defense, one of the top rebounders in the NBA, one of the top field goal percentage shooters in the NBA. That's just what I expect day in and day out. So, I mean, if we're going off expectations, I feel like he was right about what I expected. But he, Chris Finch said something, and I've quoted it a bunch, and it really sticks in my head, is he said, Rudy Gobert isn't why we win games, he's why we don't lose. And I think that sort of thing is what kept us at the top of the West the entire season, just building kind of a culture for our team of effort and not taking days off. So, yeah, I'd give him an A. Yeah, a high B or an A.
I go A as well. I mean, just the fact he was the best defensive player on the best defensive team.
Exactly. And even in the playoffs, when everybody wanted to follow the talking heads of Draymond Green and Charles Barkley to trash him, Even in that Dallas series, when he was on the court, we were winning. When he was off the court, we lost. So,
Mhm.
I mean, just his on court, off court time, which he wasn't off a lot. We were winning the game with him on the court always. So, yeah, give him an A.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact, defensive player of the year, number one in
Yeah.
defensive win shares, number one in defensive rating. I mean, he was the best defensive player in the entire NBA. And not only that, he wasn't a liability on offense either. I thought he had much better hands this year. He took care of the ball when he got it. Honestly, there were a lot of times this year, and my dad pointed this out a lot, where the Wolves offense was so stagnant, and the only way to crack like a zone or something like that was to get it in the middle to Rudy and let him pass out to an open shooter. Now, if that open shooter was Kyle Anderson, and I think that was a big. I think he was huge distributing this year as well. And
I guess
go ahead.
You were saying, or like I was saying earlier, adding something to the game. Rudy Gobert catching it in that short roll and not just plowing into the hoop, but passing it out was a real big step that he added to his game this year. Not to mention him stepping out and guarding guys on the perimeter, which was something he never did.
Yes.
Man, he might be a high A to me, actually, now that I think more about it. Like, he really did add things to his game at this point in his career that were impressive.
I can't go S just because I have a special spot for Anthony Edwards.
Yep.
At S. I'll go A as well, but high. I don't think, honestly, looking at our list, I don't think anyone else is going. Well, maybe one, but we'll talk about it in a second. Like you said, the perimeter defense was exquisite, and my favorite play of the entire year that we saw several times, the big lob from Karl Anthony Towns to Rudy Gobert. That was my favorite play. I'd go nuts every single time. So we'll put him at an A. TJ Warren, actually not a bad pickup around. I think he was a 10-day contract for a while. I wasn't expecting a lot. Maybe in my most delusional, I thought he would reincarnate bubble TJ Warren.
Yeah.
Or maybe Phoenix TJ Warren or Indiana TJ Warren, but that obviously didn't happen. But I thought he was solid this year. Obviously, he wasn't in the rotation much, and I think one of the reasons that we went and got him was because Shake Milton wasn't working out. He wasn't working out, and hey, why not see if TJ Warren can resurrect it? I thought he was okay. I probably in the C rate, definitely not D.
Yeah, I would say low C. I mean, because it was the same kind of thing where we were hoping he would come in and make an impact, and he really didn't. So, yeah, I mean, he might be a little better than Monte Morris, but kind of a similar outcome overall.
All right. Everyone's favorite. Of course, we had the Naz Reid towel this year, the sixth man of the year, Naz Reid, and a couple stats from Naz Reid. Of course, sixth man of the year, had a career high 34 points against the Cavs. First sixth man of the year in Wolves history. Actually was 21st in defensive win shares. But the only downfall, he did kind of disappear in the last two games against the Dallas Mavericks. But I don't know if you can credit or I don't know if you can get too mad over two bad games, although they were in big situations. Are we putting Naz at an A, or you got him in an S?
I don't have him at an S for sure.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, 13.5 points a game. That was great. He definitely had some, when you come off the bench, it's hard, but man, he would come in firing. I would say for his role, it's hard because I always expect more from Naz because I love him so much and I think he's so gifted. But I think an A for playing in his role. I mean, obviously, if your role is a sixth man and you're the sixth man of the year, I mean, can you get much better than that?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I would say an A.
And how about the games that he stepped up for Karl Anthony Towns and the team went 14-6?
True.
That's why I'm almost tempted to give him an S, because like you said, for your role being the sixth man, you were the best one. But
yeah, I would be fine with a high A. I would even be fine with a low S, but let's go high A.
Yeah, let's go high A. I think this is a total D right now, but Wendell Moore Jr., I have seen nothing productive out of him. Even when he plays like at the end of games, he doesn't even look good.
No, he's a non-NBA player. That's fine. And I'll even put, I don't see him on there. I'll put another guy that maybe was supposed to be Monte Morris, but Wendell Moore, or no, Josh Minot.
Oh, so, that's right.
Josh Minot was a guy that is a G leaguer that I was expecting to do something better this year and to kind of do something, and he didn't. And when he came in, he looked like he's not ready. So I would put him also in the, definitely below the Luka Garza or Wendell Miller, where I feel like those G leaguers are kind of on their rise. I'm kind of at the point now where, Minot is sort of, I'm expecting him not to be an NBA player at this point.
Yeah, and actually, give me 5 seconds here. Let's get him in. There we go. So wait, where'd you want to put him?
I'll put him at a C just because he didn't really have any time to play, but he's definitely trending C-.
Right, I agree. So I think this is why I put this at the end, because this is going to be probably the most controversial take of the entire video. Karl Anthony Towns, named to the All-Star team, 41.6% from three, had a 60-point game. Obviously, we lost that game. That was an awful game. I was there. 10th best in defensive win share, social justice champion, played decent defense on Jokic, missed some games towards the end of the year. Wolves went 14-6 without him. The big question that I know everyone is waiting for, where are you putting Karl Anthony Towns? This is tough.
I would put him either, to be honest, a low B or a high C.
Wow.
And again, it's because of expectations. Like, you're supposed to be a star. I mean, like a star.
Yeah.
And you weren't. Like, if he would have averaged 20 points a game in the playoffs, which is below his career average and below his season average, if he would have done that, we would still be playing. And he didn't. He disappeared in big games.
He did for one game.
Right. He was easily taken out of games. Teams defended him with tiny players and he couldn't take advantage of it. It's the whole thing that my whole problem I've had with Karl Anthony Towns is if you allow the other team to defend you with a shooting guard or a small forward, you're not a big. And if you're not a big, you're not helping us. So, like, I would say I would put him at a B just, again, to keep people off my neck, but he would be probably, below Mike Conley B, just based off what I expected from him and his performance based off expectations.
And I think he was good during the regular season, and there were some games that he
was fine.
Yeah, he was fine. He was normal. The one thing that's going to save him here is the 40% from three. That's the one thing that is going to save him. But
that's what he does. I mean, that's what he's done every year of his career. So, like, that's not a shocker, but he averaged 8 rebounds a game, 21 points. Those have to be close to career lows. I mean, his career average for rebounds is 11, and he had 8 this year. And his career average for points is 23, and he had, 22. So, I mean, I would say he had a below career average year. So to me, that's a mid B. I mean, that's what
I would agree. And whether you like it or not, whether it has to be, it has to be accounted for, because he missed for the second year in a row. He got hurt again midway through the season. Now,
almost at the most important time of the year.
Yeah, at the most important time.
Back.
Yeah. I mean, it was lucky. I mean, not lucky because we earned it. But if let's say the season goes a different way and we were in a play-in situation, it might not go the same way. Like, exactly. If we don't get Cat back, who knows if we even make the playoffs. Now, obviously, we were near the top, but that was a pretty bunched up Western Conference right there. But yeah, I agree. I will go B.
And another reason why I'm putting him at the mid B is when he was out and Nas took over as the starter.
Yeah, we did fine.
the ball moved better. We kept winning it. And when he came back, what was the narrative? We need Karl Anthony Towns to basically do what Nas was doing, because he wasn't. Like, Nas was a breath of fresh air in our starting lineup, and it brought energy back to what we were doing. It made Anthony Edwards move the ball more. He said the same thing. He's like, man, when I see Nas swing it to the weak side right away when he gets it, it makes me want to do that. So, I mean, there was times when Nas Reed was a much better starter than Karl Anthony Towns, and that could be argued, which it should never be argued if you're a multi-time All-Star on a Supermax. So, yeah, a B is maybe even being generous.
I think we have to go B. I think we have to go B just because he did have some big games in the playoffs. He had a 60-point game. I think because B is pretty much like average, right? That was an average. That was an average Karl Anthony Towns season. He didn't excel. He hit 40% from three, but like you said, he didn't really do much, but I don't know. He got hurt again. And who knows, maybe next season he's not even on this tier list.
I hope so.
So let's review and I'll go through everything and you tell me if you want to move everything or if you're good. S tier, Anthony Edwards. A tier, Nas Reed, followed by Rudy Gobert. B tier, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Mike Conley, Karl Anthony Towns, Luka, Leonard, Deshaun. C tier, J-Mac, Troy Brown, Jaden, Kyle, TJ, and Minot. D tier, Morris, Shake, and Wendell Moore Jr. Do you want to move anybody, or are we standing pack?
I feel like that looks good. You know, for a team that made it to the Western Conference Finals, it shows how much heavy lifting that S tier guy did. And probably those A tier guys too. So hopefully next year we can get another guy up in that A tier, and it might push us to the title.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe DeJounte Murray or a Tyler Hero or
Don't get me excited.
Anthony Simons, but we have all offseason to talk about that. And in the comments below, let us know, would you put Nas at S tier, or would you put Rudy at S tier as well? Where would you put Jaden McDaniels? Where would you put Kyle Anderson? Because I know there's some Jaden McDaniels, Kyle Anderson defenders out there. We want to hear your opinion, so let us know in the comments. Chris, thanks so much for being here. This was fun.
No problem, man. I loved it.
And this is the Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and or Apple or wherever you're listening. And as always, go Wolves.